Hi, this is Erica Merrill, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I am very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a family and real estate law firm out in the Worcester, Massachusetts area, and she joins us every week with fantastic tips on both real estate and family law. Welcome to the show today, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. We love having you. Let's talk today about cohabitation. What are you talking about with this? At first, I thought it meant living with that period when you live with your ex before they move out, but that's not what you're talking about. Why don't you explain to us a little bit about what the topic is today?
Cohabitation agreements really come into place when you have a couple or you have just a best friend and you're going to buy assets together. You're thinking about buying assets together, or you're putting a payment toward an asset. So it could be a house, it could be a car, it could be furnishings, it could be stuff of that nature. Obviously, the longer you intend to cohabitate and the more detailed it is, the more items you're going to purchase, and you want to make sure that you're protected, because sometimes your name's not on those documents. Sometimes we want to use the partners or the best friend's credit because their credit score is much better than your credit. Sometimes it's your debt income ratio just doesn't work and you're going to be paying a higher interest rate. So whatever the case may be, it's where your name isn't on this document or this asset, but I have rights to it. So how do I protect those rights?
That's interesting because usually you think about this when you're going through a divorce or a breakup with kids, but you're right. Lots of people buy things together that are not in a relationship or not that kind of romantic relationship. Um, Best friends, family members. You're right. That's interesting. So, who else does it apply to?
I think it applies to anybody in those situations. So again, sometimes siblings, sometimes just maybe it's your cousin that you're friends with. Again, anybody that you have a relationship with and you're looking to buy an asset that's, not $200, that you're going, I really need to make sure that if something goes wrong, I'm entitled to this asset too. I'm helping, I'm contributing, I'm doing whatever toward the purchase of it in some fashion. I need to protect my rights. And since you're not married, you have no rights without an agreement.
That is very interesting. So, I was going to ask who it applies to and why is it necessary, but it, it looks like you've already answered those questions. Is there anything you'd like to expand upon within that arena?
I think again, it's going to apply to anything that you really want to have your asset protected. You want to have your down payment protected. You want to have some assurances that if you get in a fight with this person, because their name's on it, they're not going to be able to walk out the door, drive it away, or sell the house out from underneath you and you're left stranded. So it's really, again, anytime you're going to have that big ticket item that you want to make sure is yours. Now, obviously, you can say, well, why wouldn't it apply to engagement rings? Well, there's a promise there, so it's not going to apply to something specific like that. But anything else, like, bring it up and let's address it, because again, you want to make sure that you're getting what you're entitled to, or at least getting what you expect or what you put it down into it.
So, you've given us a few ideas about what people are buying together. Maybe it's an RV, maybe it's a boat, maybe they're getting an apartment building or a house. What does it entail to get a cohabitation agreement?
Really, it just depends on what you want. I mean, again, what are the terms going to look at? Are you putting down, $500 and your partner, whoever that might be, is putting down 5,000? Well, are we going to say that we're going to get those deposits back? Are we going to say that if this relationship goes south in whatever fashion, it's an equal divide? What does that look like? So again, we can cater it to whatever you want and any specifications as to what you want. We just need to know. So it can be as detailed as possible. It can be as vague as possible. Now, vague isn't going to help you, and I don't know why you'd waste your time with that. But again, sometimes it's like, well, we're going to put down a deposit, but if we make renovations to the house, it's going to be equal. And again, the sky's the limit in terms of what you want in there. And I think you need to say that. Again, if you're dealing with something like a house or a car that has a loan or a mortgage on it, well, if one person is paying toward that principal on the mortgage or on the loan, are they getting the principal reduction back, or are they getting the full amount of what they paid back? So again, those are things that I'm going to have a specific conversation with you about and go, what are we looking at? If you've put down, let's say you put down the same amount as a deposit, and so we're starting out with equal, the premise is we're going to do equal, except Erica is able to put down all of the monthly mortgage for the next year, and I can't really contribute. I contributed to utilities. I really did. Then we have the problem of, well, does my utility bill equate to the mortgage bill? And if so, is it going to be reducing the principal down on that, or just what you paid? So again, those are two different factors, and we're going to need to take that into consideration. And again, in that scenario, if I'm not paying any of the utilities and any of the mortgage, it's going to be a little hard pressed for me to say it's equal. But again, we're going to go back to that agreement, to what you guys originally agreed to. And in that agreement, it's also going to say what the expectation is that I was also supposed to pay half of the mortgage. I didn't live up to my end of the bargain.
I mean, that's a really good point. It sounds a lot like a prenup.
It is similar to a prenup. I mean, it is a contract. That's what it is. A cohabitation agreement is a contract, and it's a contract about different things. Again, we want to take any of those big ticket items and we want to put them in the mix, because we want to ensure that we get that money back. But what are we suing under? It's a breach of contract. So it is exactly that.
Well, so is there anything that it can't cover? I mean, you mentioned engagement rings, but what else?
It's going to be a contract, so it's not going to involve children. So if we, happen to have a child together, or we adopt a child together, or something of that nature, that's not going to be applicable, because again, that would fall under really, a marriage type thing, which is obviously beyond the scope of a cohabitation agreement. So that would be excluded. Again, anything like a promise, if I gave you a gift, unless we specify that says any birthday gifts or Christmas gifts I give you, I'm going to get back, well, then that's not going to happen. It's a gift. It's given for a specific reason, which means you're not entitled to it back unless we specify it in this contract. So generally, gifts are excluded. Again, children are excluded, but any other assets that you specify are certainly going to be included.
At the end of the day, or at the end of the relationship, like, when do you enforce these rules in this contract?
Good question. I mean, hopefully, even if the relationship has terminated or gone south, hopefully one of you can go, hey, we've got this contract here. We really need to, follow it. And this is what I want. And both of you are adult enough to do that. If you don't, then unfortunately, you're going to have to hire an attorney, and we're going to have to go in and file a lawsuit. So that we can get that contract enforced. We can ask for a specific performance, which is comply with the court order, or comply with this document that is now becoming a court order. So we certainly have the ability to do that.
So how does it get enforced? Do you go to court for it automatically, or you just decide and everybody divvies it up on their own?
Really depends on the tension between the parties. And obviously what's going on. If it results in a restraining order or no harassment order or something of that nature, then obviously we're going to end up going the lawsuit route. We're going to have to probably let the judge or the attorneys negotiate so that we can come to a resolution. Short of that, I mean, an ideal goal is we sit down, and that would be one of the provisions I would suggest in a cohabitation agreement, is a mediation clause. We sit down, we try to mediate it first. Saves a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of frustration, especially when you're going, well, wait a minute, I just want my money from this house. Well, okay, that's simple. Let's come up with the value of the house. Maybe we don't agree. Great, let's hire an appraiser. So there's things that a mediator can certainly suggest to get you to that point to go, oh, I didn't think about that. Or wait, I don't have an appraiser in mind. Maybe the mediator knows somebody, stuff of that nature. But again, I don't trust you, you don't trust mine, but we'll let the mediator pick somebody. There's things that we can do to try to resolve that. But obviously, if you can't resolve it through negotiations or mediations or your attorneys, then yeah, ultimately you're going to end up going in front of the judge, and the judge is going to make a determination. And he's going to apply contract law.
I mean, it sounds like the benefits are you know what you're getting into going into a contract with someone. What else should we know about the benefits?
That's obviously the biggest benefit. And knowing also, you have this document, based off this document, what documents you're going to have to provide to prove your side. So again, while nobody expects that this relationship's going to go south, nobody buys anything with somebody thinking that's going to happen. You also know, hey, look, I need to make sure that I'm going to keep my mortgage statements or my bank statements or whatever it is to show that I made these deposits, to show that I made these payments. You're going to know that if it says I'm allowed to recover improvements, you're going to keep those receipts. So at least in the back of your mind, you have somewhat of a prep to move forward. Now, again, I'm not setting up the expectation that you're going to ever have to use this agreement. The ideal goal is you're never going to have to use it, and that it's a waste of money, if you will. But it's not a waste of money because it's a peace of mind, and it gives you that peace of mind in the event something happens. We all hope everything's going to work out. We hope that our best friend's not going to stab us in the back, but when they're sleeping with our boyfriend, that causes problems. So you need to go with that expectation of something bad may happen. So again, I think it's knowing what you're going to get, knowing what you need to prove your position, and then again, having that, hopefully that option to mediate and to minimize the stress caused in any conflict.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. One question that just popped up in my mind is that a lot of times prenups and wills, when you get married, they change and that sort of thing. Do people redraft their wills when they are getting a property with someone that they're not marrying? I mean, what if something happens to one of them? Does the other person automatically get the property? Is that part of the contract?
Hopefully it's part of the contract. Hopefully we're going to specify that when we're buying this property, we're buying it as joint tenants, which would automatically give it to the remainder person. But maybe it's, hey, Erica, I'm buying this property with you, but if I die, it's going to my family because I purchased it. So again, that's something that we could put in a deed, and we can put it in the separation agreement. The cohabitation agreement. But certainly if that's the case, and my position is you're not getting my share no matter what, if I die, then we're going to have that deed as tenants in common. So there's things that we can put in two different forums to give you that protection. But, the problem is we have that agreement. It is tenants in common. I do die, and my heirs are like, no way, we're not dealing with Erica. We're not having this contract. That's why at least you're able to fall back on something and go, I'm a 50% owner. It will ultimately force a sale under a petition to partition, but at least this is what I'm getting myself into. And that the expectation is if God forbid something happens to me, you're going to be stuck with my family members.
Always meet the family. Well, this has been very interesting and very helpful. And I'd like to mention that if you are getting into any kind of contract, whether you're working on something in family court, real estate, or purchasing something with your best friend, definitely give Reeves Lavallee a call, because they can give you the strategy and the contract that is going to protect your interests in the long run. Nicole, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we go?
I think, again, just remind yourself we are a community property state, but that community property state only takes effect when you're married. So it doesn't matter that I've been living with my boyfriend for 20 years. If my name is not on that deed and we don't have an agreement, I technically have no rights. I can file a complaint in equity. Do you think I'm going to get a lot back? Probably not. Do you think I'm going to spend a crap load of money trying to get a little bit back? Yes. So this is the reason why you want to do this. Also, often people buy the house, or they buy the Trans Am or the Mustang or the really expensive car because we're going to be together forever. Yeah, but maybe not. So really kind of think about that when you're spending this money, because a lot of times you don't have that money to spend, and you certainly don't have that money to waste. So while we all can believe that our best friend is not going to be out to get us, or our family member is, great and their family and they won't screw us over, the simple fact of the matter is get yourself protected. If nothing else, it gives you peace of mind.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a great day.